I was born with muscular dystrophy. I was diagnosed at the age of 10 months old. I've been using a wheelchair now full time since I was about 14 years old. So I've been disabled my entire life. I've learned to rely on technology to help me throughout life. I went to ASU and I received a bachelor's of interdisciplinary studies, and then I also have a master's of education. Everything I did was on computer, but as my disability progressed, it got to the point where I couldn't type anymore. I had an old iPad. I learned how to use my nose to navigate. When I need to magnify something, I put my lips on the screen and I open my mouth and it magnifies. My dream job was to become a school guidance counselor. I interviewed for a number of years and I just could not get my foot in the door. I was offered a job as a vocational rehabilitation counselor. And in order to log into the system, I only had a certain amount of time to put the code in to the iPhone, but I wasn't able to physically do it in time. Unfortunately, because of that, I had to give up that position. Right now, I find myself, unemployed. All the companies I've been looking at want you to be computer proficient. Now, I'm computer proficient, I just can't use the computer. Alexa helps me with pretty much everything that I need. Turning the lights on, turning the lights off. Alexa also makes phone calls. It's to the point where I don't have to use my hands to even do any of the stuff that I used to. Like I always say, like Alexa is my best friend. I have a lot of friends that are very anti-technology. They sit there and tell me, oh, she's listening to everything, you know? That's fine. I live a boring life, so if she wants to listen, go ahead. To be quite honest, I really don't know why I'm unemployed. I could think of 3 instances where I was offered a job, and then when I presented them with my disability and asking them if I can use an iPad, the job was pretty much pulled out from under me. I would hate to say it's discrimination, especially in today's day and age, but we all know it's still out there. There are times that I do get very frustrated, and there's really not much I can really do about it. I can stay angry at the world, or I can continue on and hopefully find something.
It's interesting. There's, one of the examples he gave is an accessibility violation. Nobody should have a timer on anything. I mean, this happens throughout school today where kids are going to school. If you're disabled, you have to have a time lifted for that anything that's timed because of your disability. And this is an example of an application that was timed out. I'm also just love the story where he learned his own accommodation. It's unbelievable that he has to do this with his nose and his lips. But I'll also commend Apple and Amazon and Microsoft for the kinds of things they're putting in their applications to accommodate for this kind of stuff. They, in the last 10 years, have done so much to give the power to the user to be able to do, what I would consider a 2-finger gesture. Well, he's using his lips to do what I would do with 2 fingers.
Right.
Everybody knows
Right.
what it is to Zoom with 2 fingers. They go like that, right?
That's right.
And he's doing it with his lips. I mean, it's just a story that it makes you melt that that's what he has to do, right?
Matt, I think it is reflective, though, of 2 really important traits. Innovation.
Mhm.
Boy, this population figures out how to innovate
Mhm.
in ways that others I would have never thought about the lips. The other thing is resilience. In today's day and age, with all the disruption, you need a resilient workforce. And these are the attributes, I think, large employers would say, and any employer, who doesn't want that?
And you're both building the business case for hiring people with disabilities, right? The business case is not it's the right thing to do, or we are providing some form of charity. The business case is that our consumers are people with disabilities. We already have employed within our workforce people with disabilities, and we have a responsibility to change our processes or transform how we hire, how we recruit in order to bring in more people with disabilities. And you can do it with technology. And often it doesn't cost a lot of money. I think there is a myth that exists so often with employers and even with individuals themselves, that I can't disclose or ask for what I need because it'll be expensive and I'll get the no. But we know from our own data, from our job accommodation network, that oftentimes accommodations are free. Or if they're not free, the average cost can be $300. And that can mean that you have talent that you've brought on board that can do all of the things that we were just talking about. They can succeed, they can problem solve,
Yeah.
and they can be leaders within their organization.
And someone like that who basically did his own accommodation, right?
Mhm.
To be able to do something, figured it out on his own.
Mhm.
That, I mean, it truly is somebody you would want in a company,
Absolutely.
right? I mean,
We all would.
I mean,